Hey guys, Mike Gonzalez here. Now, imagine that you are a homeowner and, went through some tough times here recently, like a lot of us have. Maybe you lost your job. Maybe you're behind on the mortgage payments. Maybe, the bills are all starting to stack up and you're wondering what are some of the options out there. Now, when you jump on Google, you do a search. One thing that might pop up is a home sale leaseback that some of the investors are starting to do. So I kind of wanted to quickly talk over it. I recently had a client when I went out to do a listing presentation. They kind of said, "Hey, they were approached by one of these investors. This is kind of what it looked like." And when I looked at the details, it didn't make sense for me to do it if I was in their situation. But everyone's different. Everyone has different priorities. So let's go ahead and walk through it. If you haven't heard it, or if you've gone through it, leave it in the comments. Or if I kind of missed something, leave me in the comments and I'll do my best to answer the questions on it. But so what a home sell leaseback is, essentially, looking here, stage one, right? You sell the home and you get to stay there, right? So you sell it to an investor, and they pay off the mortgage, and you get to stay in the home. And then you have some money that they give you. Everything's negotiable, so it just depends on what your home is worth and what they think how that home is going to appreciate. Anyway, they give you an amount of money after they pay off all the liens on the property, and then you use that money, to pay off debts, to start a business. Just different things that you can do. And then stage two is you have the option to buy back the home, or essentially just get out, right? And that can vary as far as the time. It could be 12 months or maybe more. Everything's negotiable, but it seems like 12 months seems to be pretty common. So that's kind of what it looks like. And overall, this is one company that does it, Easy Knock. They've been starting to do stuff here in Texas, so I just wanted to use them as an example. Now, the Wall Street Journal recently did a pretty good article on there where they actually showed, it was a Texas individual, I think up in Dallas, and they actually showed the numbers on there. So I'm going to use that as an example, so that way I don't divulge any of my clients' information, but that way we can kind of get a better picture of how this works. So the Wall Street Journal, this is how they showed it. So the person who did the lease back, Easy Knock in this case, paid them $182,000. Now they valued their home at $315,000, right? So that's a pretty big gap. So with that 182, they paid off the existing mortgage of 119. The lien, there was a second lien on there that homeowner had gotten, so they paid off that also, 58,000. So they left the homeowner with 30,000 in cash that they can do whatever he wanted to do. This individual, I believe, used it for debt repayment. So that's that 30,000 there. Now, there was a processing fee, right? The processing fee that this company charged is $7,800. Now, he's going to stay in the home for the next 2 years, right? 24 months. So he's going to be paying $1,600 every month back to this company, back to these investors. Now, they're going to, at the end of 2 years, he has the option. He can buy it back, for $187,000, or he can just leave, right? So to me, let's break it down real quick. So from the homeowner standpoint, if their house value is correct, 315,000, and he got 182, so he pretty much sold it at a 42% discount, essentially, right? Even yes, he has the option to buy it back, but that the difference there of 133,000, that's equity that he kind of put at risk, right, over the next 2 years, because these investors are targeting individuals that they probably have bad credit. And so the odds of them being able to improve their credit within those 24 months, it's going to be pretty tough. They're going to have to improve their credit so they can get a loan so they can buy back the property. But yeah, so essentially he put that at risk, 133. If he's not able to buy it back, then that equity just pretty much goes to the investor. Now, keep in mind he's paying $1,600 a month over the next 24 months, right? So that's a pretty good chunk of change. Let's do that math real quick. So 1,600 times 24. So that's 38,000 that he's going to pay this investment company in the as far as rent. So again, from the seller side, how's it look? Well, if you're in that tough situation, I understand, but it's kind of like if you're out drowning, right? And you see a boat coming towards you and you're like, oh, great, they're going to help me out. Before they let you in the boat, they're like, hey, that's a real nice Rolex you have on your wrist. Give me that Rolex before I let you in the boat. It's a rough analogy, but that Rolex essentially is that extra equity that this seller is giving up. And I understand that the investor is taking a risk, but that gives them a pretty big buffer. It's almost a 40-50% buffer that they have in the value of the home. So yeah, when you look at the processing fee of $7,800 plus the $38,000 they're going to pay, I mean, it's a very rich deal on the investor side. So that's it on the seller side. For the investor, I think what's going on here, we're seeing a trend to where not too long ago, the investors that were buying up residential properties were pretty much, kind of a niche. They were more of the smaller mom and pop even investors. They were buying, maybe 2-3 homes a year, maybe at the most. But one thing we started to see is, Wall Street money has started really getting interested in buying single family homes. And that's a big reason why we've seen prices come up quite a bit, because you just have so much more of the home buyers that are coming into the market are actually investors, right? They're very well funded investors, and they're looking for long-term buy and hold. So from their point, you have more investors competing for fewer and fewer homes that are coming on the market. And for them, that's like, well, instead of competing, because they're having to compete like everybody else. They're having to compete on price. So, I can remember a few years back when an investor made an offer on a home, it was at a pretty big discount. What we've seen lately, what I've seen on my listings, is these investors are offering, just as much as someone who's going to be living in the home, right? So they're not buying them at discounts anymore. But doing this way, this is a great way for them as an investor to pick up a property at a discount, essentially, by offering a little bit of financing for 24 months. Because what they're going to be doing is they're saying, all right, let's look at this. What is the... Yeah, that's that home. So this is what I wanted to see right here, is the actual, right here. So the number, we have almost 1.5 million folks that are delinquent in their mortgages. So I think all these investors saw this as a great opportunity. They're like, wow, we have this great big pool of homeowners. They're behind, right? And it's going to be really tough for them to catch up. So how do we scoop up these homes? Again, these are the investors thinking. How do we scoop up these homes before they even go into foreclosure, before the bank takes them back? And I think that's essentially what this sell leaseback program is doing for them is, hey, if we offer them a little bit of a lifeline, we can buy this property before it gets foreclosed, before there's other people competing on them, and before anyone even knows they're out there. And all it's going to cost us is a little bit of upfront money, but we're going to get to recoup, not just the discount we're getting on the sales price, but also the payments we're getting. They're pretty much covering the carrying cost, right? And plus you have that processing fee. So it's, from the investor standpoint, it's like almost all upside. Again, I know they're providing, they're providing a little bit of help for someone who's behind, but still, it's very similar to the payday loan industry where, once they know they get somebody in the cycle of doing the loan, it's very hard for them to get out because of the rates, right? The same thing for this. I think one of the investors said that maybe, 20% of the homes ever get bought back on that option, maybe. Again, they're making money on both sides of this. So that's the thing that I want to point out. From the seller, there may be other options. Everyone's situation is different, but maybe do a HELOC, maybe do, depending on the requirements, a reverse mortgage. That's kind of the challenge. Or frankly, if this individual would have sold it, let's go back to the numbers. So this individual would have sold it, right? So he had the home. The difference between 315,000 minus the 182, that's 133,000, right, in equity. If you divide that by the months that he's going to be paying rent, right, by 24, right, that's about $12,000 every month. So what am I saying here? If he would have sold the home, right, and if he would have gotten that much of the equity out, then it's essentially like for the next 24 months, he would have 12,000 in income if you divided the equity he pulled out over 12 months. I don't know. So that's the only thing is it's because of the situation they're in. These investors know that the time is of the essence. Essentially, some of the other options take a lot longer, and that's one thing they note in all their marketing material is that, hey, we can move faster. So right now, the way the market is, if you decide that, hey, it's better for me to sell, you can have your money within 35 days, even 30 days. So it's probably just as long as this takes. Now, yes, you don't get to live in that house, but you get to walk away with all that equity. That's the other thing I would say is kind of weigh in that balance. So look at the numbers. There's always an emotional component, right? People, you want to stay in the home for various reasons, but also look at the numbers. Say, hey, what makes sense? How am I going to be better off 24 months down the road if I do this decision versus doing this other one, right? That's the big takeaway for me. So anyway, Invitation Homes, that's one of the leading owner operators of single family homes for lease. So they buy properties and then they lease them out. They're one of the largest. And they're going to start doing a sell lease program because they see the potential in it. And the only thing that's interesting to me is right here in their financial statement, they say we invest in markets where we expect will exhibit lower new supply, stronger job, and housing limited growth. So essentially what they're saying is, hey, in these areas that are popular and prices are going crazy and people are having a hard time finding a home, that's where we're going to be. We're going to be scooping all that up. So again, everyone's situation is different. Just take the time to weigh the pros and the cons. My name is Mike Gonzalez. I'm a real estate agent here in the Austin area. Feel free to give me a call, 512-202-7756. Call me, text me. You're never bothering me. I always love to talk to people about real estate and just kind of share my experience and my knowledge. Or you can visit me on my website at mikemaxprofit.com. Look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.